Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Mina, and today's video is going to be something very interesting. I believe I've seen a couple of people do this very video on their channels before, and I thought it was a very interesting idea. So today's video, as you can tell by the title, is going to be me reading the highest rated book on my TBR versus lowest rated book on my TBR. The way that I picked my books is by going to my Goodreads, and instead of positioning my Goodreads TBR from the most recent to the oldest into the highest rated, and then I just reversed it, and then I picked up from the top and the bottom. I was a little bit surprised, and I will explain why. So the lowest rated book we will be reading is The Unraveling of Cassidy, Holmes by Alyssa R. Sloan. This one has 3.48 stars on Goodreads. That is very low. That is the lowest book that I have rated on my shelves, the lowest rated book on my TBR, and I don't really know what this is about, but it says now, the line that just caught my eyes, but now she's dead, suicide. So I don't really know what's going on with this one. Usually I don't add a book to my TBR if the Goodreads are less than 3.8 or 9. Sometimes I'll make an exception, but this is the lowest rated book on my shelves, and this is the one that I will be reading. The highest book on my TBR actually took me by surprise because I expected it to be Crescent City, the first book of Crescent City series by Sarah J. Maas. It was not. That one was the second most highest rated book on my shelves, but the first one was All My Rage by Sabaa Tahir. This one has 4.51 stars on Goodreads with 8,000 reviews. Really, honestly though, the highest one would be, if we won by number of reviews and how high it was rated, it would probably be Crescent City, but I'm thinking that I will probably read Crescent City for a different video or in another time. If you don't know who Sabaa Tahir is, I've read her Ember in the Ashes series, and it's one of my favorite series of all time, and I love it, and I love the characters, and I love the story, and I still think about them to this day, even though I read it a very long time ago. I added this book to my shelves May 9th, 2021. These are the books that I will be reading. I have no idea what this book is about either. A gorgeous star-crossed story about the costs of the American dream. I read this in a single day by Jodi Picoult, which I've read a book by before. So that's interesting. Apparently this is about the American dream, probably has to do with an immigrant. I don't know, but I love Sabaa Tahir, and I love her writing, and I love her other books that I've read, so I think I will very much enjoy this. A lot of people seem to love this one, and a lot of people seem to dislike this one. I will probably start by reading this one. I don't end up having unrealistic expectations by reading such a good book and then comparing this against it. So I'm gonna read this one first, and then we'll talk about it and review it, and then we'll move on to this one, and then we'll compare the two. And we'll talk about if the ratings are fair or not. So, I started The Unraveling of Cassidy, Holmes by Alyssa R. Sloan. I am this far in. I am on page 86 on chapter 6. And I have decided to DNF this book. Let it be known that I'm not DNFing this because it's bad. Because it's not bad, objectively. So, you know, like objectively, it's actually an interesting book. I started it. I was really into it. It gives me like Daisy Jones and the Six vibes, because it's about this band that ends up having one of their members die, and they think it's a suicide. Like the public thinks it's a suicide because she left the band years ago, and because of her, like there was some trauma and some drama and some things going on between the members of the band, and she like auditioned for this X Factor type of show to get in this band, and the band was very, very popular and everybody loved them, and we just find out that she died and that the reason was suicide, and the other band members are not so sure that it might have been a suicide. So the premise is interesting. So it's not the story's fault. It's the way that the story is written and the story is told. This book is so boring. This book is so boring. The premise is so interesting. The book is boring. Like, we get pages and pages and pages of pages of like descriptive and of what's going on in the character's brain, and it's not bad. It's just not what I want to be reading. Like, I don't want to be in a person's head for more than 2 pages because I feel like then I'm just gonna get bored, and it feels like this book was telling instead of showing, and I didn't like that. And so after 80 pages, I just kind of gave up on it, and I really, really wanted to push forward with it, but I'm just not interested, and I felt like I kept putting it down and doing other things, and I felt like it was going to be like an uphill battle trying to finish this book because it's hefty, so it's not little. It's 419 pages. I cannot, for the life of me, imagine reading about these dull characters for 400 pages. They're so dull, they're so boring, there's like no depth, there's no story, like there's nothing that makes it interesting. I already started it and I was in it. 80 pages in, I'm still like, okay, so she committed suicide, who cares? Because I really don't have any attachment to any of the characters, and I don't really particularly care for them, and I don't care for the story, and I don't care for the way that it's told and the way that it's formatted and the way that it's edited. It just feels very boring and dragged out, and it feels like there's details in there that don't need to be in there. It could have done being a little bit shorter. And I know you're like, oh my god, she got this from 80 pages. It was just so mind-numbing trying to read this book. And it's not because the story is bad. It's just because it's not for me. And if you've read this book and you've liked it and you've given it 4 or 5 stars, that's great for you. It's just not for me. I'm not interested in it. Don't want to read it. Don't really care about it. Don't care about the characters. Don't care about the story. Don't care about the band. Don't care, period. Star-crossed stories, so maybe there's some star-crossed lovers in here, like a romance that can't happen. I don't know. I've only ever read the Ember and the Ashes series by Sara Carrolli, and I love her writing and the way that she crafts the story, and so I'm very excited for this one. I am going to pick it up probably tomorrow, and we'll see where I go from there, because as of right now, I feel like I'm heading into a reading slump. The book is 374 pages. I'm excited. I know this is probably going to be nothing like the Ember and the Ashes series, but still, to get some of Sara Carrolli's writing, very exciting, because the woman knows how to craft a story and tell a story and have romance. Oh my god. If you haven't read her Ember and the Ashes series, it's one of my favorites. Please read it. You're missing out because it's one of the best fantasy series of all time. The woman is a genius. Point blank, period. I love her, I stan her, and I'm very excited to pick up this book tomorrow, and very excited, actually, very excited now that I'm thinking back on the Ember and the Ashes series and how much I loved it and how much it made me cry. I'm excited for this one. I know she's going to deliver. I just got home from work, and I don't know if you can see, this is where I'm at. So I started All My Rage by Sara Carrolli. Boy, do I have some thoughts about this, because I should have known. I already told you, like, an Ember and the Ashes series by this author made me bawl my eyes out. Like, genuinely, I bawled my eyes out like a baby. I was crying my eyes out at the end of it, at the last book. I loved it. It still is one of my favorite series of all time. I still think about it. I still think about the characters. I was actually thinking of doing a reread, but I have too many books that I'm in the middle of right now so that I need to get through. But I'm definitely going to be doing a reread at some point eventually in my life, because I love that series so much. And I know that that series tore my heart out of my chest. I should have known from day one that this would tear my heart out of my chest, because that's what it's doing. So I am on page 276 out of 370 something, 374 pages. I'm on chapter 44. This is how much I have left. This is how much I read in one singular sitting. Yep. Yep. I read this in one sitting. I can't put this book down. I don't know what it is about this, but no, I do. I do know what it is about this book. This woman knows how to craft a beautiful, beautiful, heart-wrenching, so painful, so impactful, like genuinely, like the most heart-wrenching story that you could possibly read is in this book. This book is about this guy. He's a Pakistani, I believe, and about this girl who's also a Pakistani. She immigrated because her whole family died and her uncle adopts her. And I don't know how to describe this book without saying, like, everything and anything about it because it's so good. It's so good. I definitely understand why people give this 4 stars because oh my god, is it amazing. The tension, the heart-wrenching like feelings that you go through while reading this book. This book is so beautiful. It's so beautiful. The girl is adopted by, or not adopted, but she's taken in by her uncle after all of her family die in Pakistan, and so he brings her to the US, and she becomes best friends with this guy who is also Pakistani, and his family run a inn, and his father is a drunk, and his mother is like struggling, and she's sick, and they're best friends, and they're in love, but he has these issues going on with him, and he can't be with her, and she has these issues that she doesn't tell anyone about, and she wants someone to notice so badly. And oh my god, the relationship between these two characters is beautiful. It's wonderful. It's soft and warm and painful and just so full of emotion. And I don't know how to convince you to read this book other than telling you to read it because it's so beautiful. Definitely, if you're planning on reading this book, check the trigger warnings that are at the beginning of this book because there's like a list of what the trigger warnings are for this book. Definitely read those because girl, had I not read the trigger warnings for this book, I think I would have been destroyed. I have 100 pages left and it's been a while since I've finished a book in one sitting or in one day, but I'm going to finish this today. I started this earlier today while I was at work during my breaks and stuff. I don't want to finish it while I'm at work tomorrow because I feel, and stick with me here, if you're a regular watcher of this channel, then you know I cry over any and every book that is even remotely like emotional, and this book is that. So if I cry, which I probably will. If I cry, I don't want to be at work. I don't want to be sitting at my desk and trying to sniffle and sob and like try to keep it quiet because I don't want anyone in the office to know that I'm crying. So I'm going to sit here and I have 100 pages left and I did not know or did not think at all that I would be finishing this in one day. It's so heavy. It's so heavy. Don't get me, this is not like a happy, light, fun, cute book. There are some moments like that, but this book is mainly just heavy, very heavy. It deals with heavy topics. It deals with heavy feelings and like deep emotions and stuff that will probably get you going and probably make you cry if you're even a little bit sensitive. I love these characters so much and I relate to them so much because they're both Muslim and I'm also Muslim as well. And so I understand some of the stuff that they say in here when it comes to religion, and it's so beautiful. And honestly, please, it's like genuinely, this book deserves so many more reviews than it has and so many more readers than it has. If you like a story about like pain and people and just how much sometimes it sucks to be a human being, then I think you would enjoy this. And it's very emotional. If you're looking for an emotional book, I definitely recommend this one. I cannot seriously talk about it enough and about how much I'm enjoying it and how much I'm loving it. And even though it's heavy and sometimes I've had to like close the book and take a walk, I'm still enjoying my time reading this so very much. I can't believe it's been on my TBR for this long and I haven't picked it up. I'm so glad that this video has made me pick it up because genuinely, I don't know what I was doing not reading this book. I'm so excited to finish it, but also at the same time, I'm very scared because I don't want to cry, and I feel like I'm going to because Sabata here knows how to make me cry. She knows how to get to these waterworks up here. Not that it's particularly hard knowing me, but you know, I will forever be her #1 stan, and I love her, and I love her writing, and I love this book. And like I just said I was gonna stop yapping, and then I continued to yap. You see how this doesn't work? So I'm gonna stop yapping for real this time. And I'm going to sit here and I'm going to enjoy this book and I'm going to love it and I'm going to finish it. And hopefully I don't cry. I don't want a headache from the tears. it 5 stars. Definitely made me cry. Definitely not doing well. I'm hurting deep down inside. The story was so incredibly beautiful and like genuine and hurtful and impactful and heart-wrenching, and Sabata here knows how to write a story. If there's one thing that woman can do, she gonna write. She gonna write a book that will tear your heart out of your chest. I definitely recommend it. If you haven't read this book before, please give it a chance. You will not be missing out. You're missing out by not reading it, I'll tell you that much. I gave it 5 stars. I love it. Definitely worth the ratings that it has on Goodreads. I understand now why it's one of my most highest rated books on my TBR. I'm so glad I picked this up. I'm so glad I did this challenge, so I had an excuse to pick this beautiful masterpiece of a book up. Why did it take me so long? I didn't cry like ugly tears sobbing type of crying, but it did last like 15-20 pages. Really tied everything together so beautifully, and it gives you like things that were left up in the air in the beginning of the book, and they tie them up with a bow on top, and it's so beautiful and it's so well done. And Sabata here knows how to write a story. She knows how to create a world, and she knows how to make you so attached to characters that they feel like your friends, and it feels like you're involved with them and like you've lived the story with them. And like I feel like I'm going to be thinking about this book for forever from now on. Honestly, I am so glad I picked this book up. I'm so glad I gave it a chance. I'm so glad this video made me pick it up, because it would have taken me a lot longer to pick it up because I'm so used to the Ember and the Ashes series. But definitely pick up any book by Sabata here. You will love it. The woman knows how to write. She knows how to craft a story. She's definitely an auto-read author for me. Definitely an auto-buy author for me. I love her. I love her writing, and this book did not disappoint. Gave it 5 stars. Had a little cute few tears here and there, and definitely worth the 5 stars. So pick it up if you are on the fence. This is me telling you, go pick it up, because you're missing out if you don't read it. And why miss out, you know? That is it. You've made it all the way to the end. If you watched all the way till the end of this video, thank you. Like, that is so very nice of you to watch however many minutes this video is of just footage of me and my thoughts. That means the world to me. Let's do a recap. So I read, or attempted to read, The Unraveling of Cassidy Holmes by Alyssa R. Sloan, and I ended up DNFing this. I think this is going to be a hard DNF. I don't think I'm going to come back to this. I'm not really interested in the story. It feels very Daisy Jones and the Six, but I've read Daisy Jones and the Six, and I've liked Daisy Jones and the Six, so I don't feel the need to pick this up or read it or try to see what it's about. Plus the writing is just so, like, you know when a book has too much description and you're like, let's get to the point? This book is like telling and not showing, and there's so much description in here that it kind of makes me feel stupid as a reader. Like, the author doesn't trust the reader to pick up what the book is trying to say, and that was a shame. And this was the lowest rated, and I'm not gonna say that I understand why it's lowest rated. I think Goodreads reviews and ratings are obviously subjective to everyone. And is it subjective or objective? Subjective, right? I think that's the correct one. While I might not have enjoyed this book, you might enjoy it, so I definitely still recommend picking it up, because everyone should make their own opinion for their own selves. And I can't tell you not to read something if you feel like you're interested in the story about a pop star who maybe commits suicide. Then I think you might enjoy this. Give it a try, and it just wasn't my cup of tea, and so therefore I did end up DNFing this. And then for my top highest rated book on Goodreads, that was All My Rage by Sabata here, and I gave this one 5 stars. I loved it. I ended up crying a little bit at the end, and I really appreciated how impactful and beautiful the story was. It was written so beautifully and lyrically, and Sabata here is one of my favorite authors. I would go as far as to say that she's an auto-read author for me. I have enjoyed every work that she's ever created, and I love her characters, and all of her stories feel very heartfelt, and they have so much depth to them, and they're so impactful and beautiful and just magical. And I really appreciated the story and how painful it is, and how it makes you open your eyes to things that you definitely don't think about on a day-to-day basis, and I think that's very important. And I definitely recommend this book. I think everyone would get something out of this book. I loved it. I enjoyed it. 5 stars. We'll definitely read whatever. I mean, honestly, at this point, if Sabata here were to write a grocery list, I would happily read it. That's where we're at, you know, with how beautiful her writing is. And I love the main characters of this book so much. So much. this was written so differently to every other book that I've read, because there's like 3 POVs in this book, and it's the main guy character, the main girl character, and the mom of the main guy character and her story. And I thought that was done very beautifully, very, very, very like elegantly, and I definitely recommend to read the trigger warnings of this book. There's some very heavy issues in here that are dealt with, and you definitely want to know what they're gonna be so you can be prepared for them, because if not, I think if these are triggers for you, then I think they would be very, very heavy to read about. So 5 stars, loved it, enjoyed it. I definitely see why it's the highest rated book on my TBR. With that being said, that is the conclusion for this video. I hope you enjoyed, and let me know if you want me to do a second part to this. We can just keep going back and forth between the highest and the lowest rated, and I think that would be fun to compare the two. Maybe next time I won't be doing a DNF. I enjoyed my time doing this video so very much. Thank you so much for watching. If you watched all the way to the end, I appreciate it. That means the world to me. I hope you have the best day. Treat yourself to something nice, and I'll see you guys again next week with another video. Goodbye. Oh, and let me know down below if you've read either of these books and what your thoughts on them were. I'm intrigued. Okay? All right. Goodbye for real now.